Hi, I'm Riley.
And I'm Ryder. And this is my dad's show.
Hey everybody, it's Casey Jacox with the Quarterback Dadcast. I want to say thanks to all of our listeners, thanks to all of our sponsors for all your support. We are continuing to enjoy this journey together, inspiring dads, but I want to take a minute now to talk about Acme Homes. You've heard me talk about them before, but I'm going to talk about them again. Bob Cumming, former college teammate, amazing leader, amazing home builder. They continue to take so much pride in the work they do, the craftsmanship, the attention to detail. Whether you're looking for a home up in Monroe, up in Sultan, up in Wenatchee, this is where they're doing their amazing things. So many people during the pandemic, as we have the ability to work from home, have decided to move out of the city to try to find homes where there's more acreage. Well, that's exactly what Bob and team at Acme Homes give you. So check out Valley Vista up in Monroe. Check out Daisy Meadows out in Sultan. And if you want to even go to Eastern Washington, check out Sienna Heights in Wenatchee. They're, again, amazing craftsmanship, amazing floor plans. You can visit them at acmehomeswa.com. And if you're interested in learning specifically about listings or mortgage opportunities, contact Jen at 425-308-8082 or Denise at 425-309-2318. So now, why are we doing a new ad? Because we want to talk about a partnership they have with Portage Bank. Kevin Jensen is one of the great lenders over there. He's the senior vice president. He's going to take care of you. And right now, if you obtain a mortgage through Portage Bank, Bob and team at Acme Homes are going to pay your $500 appraisal fee. I said that right. They're going to pay your $500 appraisal fee by buying a home through them, getting your mortgage through the folks at Portage Bank. So don't wait. Now's the time to contact Jen, contact Denise. Again, Jen's number is 425-308-8082. And again, Denise is at 425-309-2318.
So visit acmehomeswa.com right now to go visit and learn about your next new home.
Well, hey everybody, it's Casey Jacox again with the Quarterback Dadcast. As a reminder, we are in season 3. We are recording in June. This episode will come out late summer or in the fall, but this episode will, as in every episode in season 3, is dedicated to the one and only Big Mike Jacox, who passed away on December 29th, 2021. Pops, miss you, love you. Hope you're doing well up in heaven. I'm sure you're probably joking with someone and making a god damn it joke, or just doing something that's just pure shenanigans and craziness, which is what you taught me. So thanks for that. Today's guest comes by way of the one and only Ian Pryor, who I've learned they're former colleagues, as well as shout out to Henna. And his name is Brian Carney. He's a co-founder of River's Edge. He's an Ursinus Bear dual sport athlete. We'll learn about that. He's also the host of a podcast called Happy Half Hour with Entrepreneur. I think maybe he'll double check that one. He's also a huge Philadelphia Eagles fan. But with all that said, we're not here to talk about that, at least kind of. We're here to talk about Brian the dad and learning how he is working hard to become that ultimate quarterback of his household. So without further ado, Mr. Carney, welcome to the Quarterback Dadcast.
Casey, thank you so much for having me on. Excited to talk to you.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. And so for those listening and taking score home, I feel like this is going to be a good one because he and I talked for pretty much 10 minutes, and immediately I could feel I'm going to jive with this dude, mainly because our fitness goals are so on point, which is don't get fat, don't get hurt. And we're going to be putting out a workout video soon, so be on the lookout for that.
Oh, I love it. That's great. We'll call it don't get hurt, don't get fat.
Let's do it. Maybe we could sell t-shirts.
Yeah.
I think you said we'll wear UGG boots and yoga pants. That'll be our.
That's right. Exactly.
Sponsored by. Boy. Okay. So we always start each episode with tell me what you're most grateful for as a father right now.
I think the one thing that has been a tremendous part about COVID, during the pandemic, to not have anywhere to go was kind of an interesting thing for all of us, where, you have kids. So I have 3 kids, 14, almost 13, and 11. And you're always running them around. You've got places to be all the time. And all of that stopped. And then you just got to hang out with them, and I think my job, I used to be at the office 5 days a week. Now I'm home a lot. I really just got to spend more time with them, and we continue to spend more time together. And, they're older now, where the problems that you had when they were toddlers are a little bit different. You're trying to get them to sleep or changing their diapers or whatever. Now you're dealing with like issues with friends at school, and you get to I'm really grateful for the time that I have alone with each of them separately. And I think it's a really different thing to do. But one of my favorite parts, going back to when the pandemic opened back up and we started going places again, is I really started to take and appreciate the time I had alone with them in the car.
Mm-hmm.
It's my daughter's 14. She's going to be driving soon. She's going to be a freshman in high school. She's going to be gone soon. So like the time is running out. And just to be able to have that one-on-one alone time with them, I'm super grateful for. And I really am happy that the pandemic sort of like knocked me into, hey, slow it down a little bit. I think that's been a real positive thing from that.
That's great, man. That's been a common answer for a lot of us on as we're in season 3 here. And I think it's a reminder that we either can let life get us back in this fast lane of go, do this training, do that, get them doing this, versus all of a sudden they're gone. Like, for what?
Yeah.
Right. So I love that you're present and thinking about that. What I'm grateful for, and I shared with Brian before we recorded, and so we're in June, but the time this episode comes out, I'm hoping this injury is just a freaking drop in the bucket. Nothing. My daughter had a pretty good injury over the weekend with a dislocated broken finger. And I'm so grateful for her resilience, her toughness. I'm grateful for my son's empathy towards her. And he was really bummed out too. But we just, surround her with love. And I'm grateful for the people in my community. I'm grateful for the coaches, her high school coaches and her AAU coach who just were reaching out and heard about it. But it definitely made this weekend easier knowing that your team rallied around you.
Yeah, for sure.
So, all right. So 3 kids. I want to hear about when Brian calls a play in the huddle. Tell me who is on the team, including your wife, and talk about each person's role in the team.
Yeah, my wife, Kristen. We were college sweethearts. We have been together since I was 20 years old. I'm now 42, and we've been married so in a couple of weeks will be our 16th wedding anniversary. We had 3 kids in 38 months, and there's a story behind why that happened so quick. So we almost have Irish triplets.
Wow.
Yeah. And I always make the analogy that the 2 of us run a business together, and she is like the main hub of the household, right? She organizes everything. She makes sure everyone goes where they're going. She makes sure that everyone is doing what they need to do. And, without her, I'm so lucky to have her to be able to do that. And she really enjoys it, which is even better. She was a teacher in her past life. She still substitute teaches. And, she still really loves to be sort of like that main spoke of the family, which is great. So then I have a daughter named Quinn, who's 14. She's going to be a freshman. She plays field hockey and lacrosse, played volleyball also, and did some dance. We had her last dance recital a couple weeks ago, which was oddly emotional because when they're little kids and they're going through those dance recitals, they're kind of brutal. It's like 47 songs, but now they're really good and really interesting. So I'm bummed out about that. Then I have a son named Macklin. He'll be 13 at the end of July. He plays actually all the same sports that I did, and he plays football, basketball, and baseball. But he recently retired from baseball and switched to lacrosse.
Wow.
Which was, to be honest, I was bummed at first. And then I said, dude, why don't you want to play baseball anymore? And he said, well, it's kind of boring. I'm like, that's kind of a good point. But I really liked being able to watch him play lacrosse this year. And I coached him in all 3 of those. I don't know how to play lacrosse. My wife was a Division III All-American in lacrosse, so that's sort of her forte. So to be able to sit on the sidelines and really enjoy it has been fun. And then I have a younger son who is 11, going to be in 6th grade. His name is Tegan, and he is such a fascinating kid in that he does sports. So he plays flag football. He plays lacrosse also, but he's so into the environment and animals. And, he's so into nature, going for hikes and being outside. And he's, really loves to do that kind of thing. So it's a really cool mix of a family with so many different personalities.
Isn't that funny? Like when you don't have kids and people say, "Oh, they're so different," and you're like, "What are you talking about?" You can't like all the cliches you don't understand until you go through them. But like my son is, he definitely's got both of us. Obviously, that would make sense. If it didn't, we'd have some serious questions for my wife to answer. But just like how different your kids can be and their likes and what they're interested in, and and like I don't know about you, but like I joke that. My son, God love teenage boys, but God, they're idiots sometimes.
They really are.
Oh my God. And I'm like, God, was I that big of a dipshit? Maybe I
Yeah.
was. I probably was. But it's like it's almost like it's so like, oh, look, plain. Like, no, I asked you to do this, but but look at that. Oh, look over here and
100% agree with that. Yeah. The other thing that I find really interesting is that when I look at my middle son, he's me. Right. Like he's so much like me that, in the past, it's really been, we've butted heads because of it. And it's kind of like, oh, I definitely was just like that. Like I see the way he's really a whole lot more sensitive and in touch with like being affectionate and things like that, as opposed to me when I was 13. But man, he's into all the same stuff. He's not a great loser like I was. When he's playing in the neighborhood, he gets in arguments, and that's been a fascinating part to see. And the other thing I think has been really amazing. I grew up with two brothers, so when my daughter was born, we didn't know what we were having, and she came out and came into this world, and I went, "Holy shit! What do I do with one of these?" Right? And the thing that I have found, I always tell people that are having, there's this weird thing, I think, where, some dads are a little disappointed that they get a daughter. You know what I mean? You see it happen a lot. Like even if you watch like gender reveal videos on Instagram and the pink comes out and they're like bummed out. I want to grab those guys and be like, dude, this is the best opportunity. I think I'm so fortunate that she was first, because when you're a dad and you have a little girl, you can do nothing but like love on them, hug and kiss on them, and be like super affectionate. You have, daddy's little girl there. And I was lucky enough to have that same relationship just pass on with the boys. It was like, I still like, I'm super affectionate to both of them still. And, that I think in large part because I had a girl first. And, that's been a huge benefit to having a girl first.
Yeah, for dudes that don't have daughter or think having a daughter is like you're bummed out. I'm lucky because I think having a daughter that loves sports, loves hoops, and she's freaking crazy competitive. And but like I joked to you before we started the interview, I by far the toughest one in our family. Sorry, Ryder, my son, don't take that the wrong way. But it's just like she's crazy tough, and it's like it's so fun. Now I know that she's gonna be an independent woman. She's gonna be a leader. She'll be in leadership roles, and even like yesterday, she gets dressed. I come downstairs. I'm like, honey, what do you got your jersey on for? You're not playing today. It's like, I'm suiting up, Dad.
That's great.
She warmed up with one hand with team still.
Oh, I love it. That's so great.
And I mean, I was just like, holy, and like the parents were more like, dude, she's like setting the tone for this team. I'm like, I was like, oh, I didn't even think about it. But like that, having a girl do that is the best,
The best. It's so great. And the other thing that I find, I'll do stuff that my daughter asks me to that I would never do in a million years. I'm that guy. If I go to a wedding, I hate to dance because I'm not the best dancer. My wife can attest to that. I always say I have to grab onto her to get some sort of a rhythm, right?
Yep.
But my daughter will say, and I also hate being on like social media videos and whatnot, but my daughter will say, Dad, will you do a TikTok with me? And I'll go, all right. So during the pandemic, there was the Weeknd had a song out that became like huge on TikTok. And I actually went in a room and learned it before I even asked her. I was like, hey, Quinn, do you want to do this? I just learned this dance. You want to do it? And she was like, what? And she loved it. So it's like one of her favorite things. She always talks about how we did this TikTok. I'll make a fool of myself for her.
That's so good.
Yeah.
I love it. You know what's funny? I'm actually going to tell a secret. Don't tell anybody. I think I've been on TikTok like for max of 5 minutes.
Yeah. I don't have a TikTok account. People send me TikToks and I'm like, okay. I mean, I guess it's something, but having a 14-year-old girl, I see her and her friends it less so now, more a couple of years ago, they couldn't stand still without doing some sort of a TikTok dance, So I think it's cooled off a little bit.
Good. So maybe I can still send faxes and I'm still decently cool.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So I want to learn about your, what was like growing up. You mentioned two brothers, but maybe talk about the impact your parents had on you, growing up, and then maybe share how those lessons you've learned you apply to your kids now.
Yeah, so I grew up in sort of like a pretty middle class family. Went to Catholic school, and then I transferred in 7th grade to a private school where we were, it's a pretty prestigious private school here in Delaware, and we were kind of like the middle class kids on financial aid at the private school, which was a fascinating experience and one that I'm super grateful for because everyone was great there. But my parents got divorced when I was going into 7th grade. So I switched schools and my parents got divorced that summer. And it was not a particularly fun divorce. It was pretty brutal. And I felt like, I got caught up in the middle of it a lot because there weren't phones, like they couldn't text each other back then. So they had to have all the conversations either on like the regular phone or in between us. And that was kind of tough. But my mom worked her butt off. We were with her most of the time. And she was a secretary at the school that we went to. And, I remember her like just having 3 boys that were 2 years apart. We ate so much. So like the amount of food that we consumed was insane. And then, my dad, he lived in a townhouse close by. So we would go with him, every other weekend and spend the night. And the interesting thing about my dad is that, you don't really recognize things when you're going through it when you're a kid. But my dad got a second job as a bartender to help put us through private school. Right. And, he made a decent living at his regular job, but, he was working until 2:00 in the morning on the weekends and, and still going to work. So a lot of times he would bartend Friday and Saturday and just make enough cash to sort of help us with other stuff. So that was kind of, looking back on it, that's pretty eye opening, but our family, we were really close with my mom's family. And I always say my favorite human being of all time was my mom's father. He's the greatest person I've ever met in my life. If I could go back and meet anyone in the history of the world, it would be him. And I learned so much by watching him. And he helped us so much. There were times where my mom was like short on the water bill. He would pay it. And he wasn't rich. He was a painter. He would paint houses and he worked his tail off. And, we never went on vacation until he would rent a place for us for a week and we would go to the beach. And me and my brothers thought it was the best time ever. So to see, and he was one of those guys that knew a lot of people. So if you would go somewhere, he would run into like 4 people. My son tells me, he's like, Dad, you know so many people all the time now. So it makes me think that I'm like, he's always been like my role model and who I wanted to become. And when I hear that, I think like, okay, I'm becoming just like my grandfather was, which is, maybe the most ultimate compliment.
That's great. Tell me when that really started hitting home for you. Like when was the time where you're like, God, Gramps is the man?
So we had this really special relationship, and I inherited my insane fandom for the Philadelphia Eagles from him. He would dress in all green every Sunday and he would like yell at the TV. And I used to do that. I'm slightly better now, but I think he would come. So we would spend this while my parents would go to work. We would spend the summers during the day at my grandparents' house, and my grandmother would watch us. And she was a legend in her own mind, but he was in his 60s and he was still painting houses, lugging up ladders. And I remember him just coming home covered in sweat, covered in paint. And, I was probably at the time, maybe 12 or 13. And I would, talk to him a little bit about what he was doing. And he was so happy doing that job. And he was working so hard to provide, everything that he could. And I realized, he always talked about the importance of staying in school and doing well in school. He used to give us $1 anytime we would get an A, and he would make a huge deal out of it. So he was really trying to like incentivize us and motivate us to do that. But I just remember him working so hard to give some sort of life to everyone. Mm-hmm. All the holidays were at his house. And again, as you get older and you kind of look back at how much money he probably made, he didn't make much money at all. And he did everything he possibly could for the family.
Wow.
Yeah, it was. I'm telling you, on those vacations, we would go to the beach for a week, and we would stay in like a 2-bedroom condo, and there'd be like 10 of us there, and we thought it was the Four Seasons. It was the best. And now you look back and you go, man, it was so awesome in my head, and it's just a little different than it actually was. But that's the best part about being a kid, is that whatever you're in, you think it's awesome, right? You don't have any idea what else it could be. So I think he really kind of pummeled in my head that to be a hard worker, and he loved coming to watch us play sports. He loved it. I used to be able to like be at bat and be able to hear him calling for us, or like I'd be in the huddle and you could hear him screaming on the sidelines. So he was like our biggest fan, our biggest supporter, and really just like the greatest person ever.
That's cool.
I wrote my college entrance essay about him.
Oh, wow.
And then I read it to him. And he's an old Italian guy. He was super affectionate. You would walk in, he would grab you by your face and give you a big kiss, right? Like full on old school Italian. And when I read him my essay, he started bawling.
I love it.
Yeah, he started bawling, and he got sick with cancer, and he passed away when I was in college, and I was actually with him. I would go visit him. So the college I went to was like an hour away from home, and I would go visit him just to like say hi to him. And he was so thankful that I would go in, and we would just talk about like the Phillies or the Eagles or whatever. And we would just have to try to have a normal conversation. And he would like hold my hand while I was there. So, these are things that like I haven't really even thought about in a long time, but that had such a profound impact on me that if you could kind of look at the type of person I want to emulate, it would be him.
Wow. Is your grandma still with us?
She's not. She passed away a couple of years ago, and she was something else. She was awesome. But she was, if you had a shirt on that she didn't like, she would tell you, she used to tell my mom,
"Hey, Brian, you look fat in that shirt. Take it off."
I was just going to say, my mom's name is Pat. Her name was Flo. She used to say, "Patty, you look like hell." And that's exactly how we all imitate her voice. So even like my in-laws know Flo's voice because me and my brothers do it so often.
Oh, that's so good. Power of Flo. Shout out to Flo. Mm-hmm. And what was your grandpa's name?
Mike.
Hey, my dad's name is Mike. Maybe they're up there having a beer together.
I hope so.
Arguing about Seahawks Eagles game or something. Have you shared, I'm sure you have, but I'll ask anyways, have you shared what your grandfather meant to you, to your mom?
Yes, my mom does know that.
Yeah.
She's very well aware of that. She knew that we had sort of some special connection from the time I was probably like 12. I just wanted to like talk to him and be around him. And, I just thought he was the best.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
As you think about your mom and dad, besides these lessons that you're obviously your dad taught, your grandpa taught, if you had to think of like one or two things that really like stand out that you're really, really present about with your kids, as I ask you, does anything specifically come to mind?
My dad grew up in not a super affectionate household. It's kind of interesting to see my relationship with my dad, right? My mom, super affectionate, tells me she loves me all the time, right? Always hugs us, always kisses us, has since I was born for as long as I can remember, right? Like to the point when you start getting a certain age, you're like, Mom, stop. My friends are around, So my mom's always been that way. My dad grew up he was a single child, grew up in a house where there wasn't like a lot of I love yous and a lot of, hugs or kisses. So he was never real affectionate to me. And it's amazing to see how affectionate he is to my kids.
Mm.
Right. So the one thing that I've really taken from that is I try to be super affectionate to my kids. And I try to be over the top every night, go in, kiss them on the head, tell them that I love them. I try to let them know for sure so that they can't ever think back and be like, yeah, well, and my dad never told me he loved me. They're going to know that, hopefully.
Yeah.
But that's one thing I really try to impress upon them, that they are super special to me.
Yeah, I love that, man. I shared with on previous episodes, my very same thing, affectionate, but my dad, I think he grew up in a time where there wasn't a lot of those I love yous. He was one of 4 brothers. He never missed a game. He almost bankrupt himself going to follow me play Call of Duty shithole towns, but, at the end, before he passed away, he was so affectionate. He had dementia and Alzheimer's, and that was like kind of fading away, but his almost himself's coming back. And it was really, really cool to spend time with him. But I remember, like, that's one thing I've always committed to is like, I love you, a ton of I love yous in the house.
Mm-hmm.
I have, 16-year-old and almost 14-year-old. She's still 13, but I want that to be the normal.
Yes.
We talk about, like, it's just, why wouldn't you do that? And
absolutely
say I love you a lot. And even as my daughter's going through this injury, I said, honey, there's going to be days where you're going to be really down.
Yep.
I'm not trying to like put negativity in you, but I've been through it. I know what it's like to be when something's taken from you that you love so much. Those are the days we got to talk, and let's get that stuff out and don't keep it inside. And if I'm reading the defense and I see that you're not the Riley I know, we're going to have chit chat, girl, because it's important to either go spend some one-on-one time together. And, I love that. I love that affection is obviously a theme in the old Carney household. So
good to your point, going with your dad, I just think that was just a different generation. You know what I mean? I think that they were a father being affectionate to a son. I don't think was nearly as common as it is now. So it's not like I blame him for that. That's what he saw, and that just like
right.
I've done enough therapy to know that a lot of the stuff that you learn comes from your parents, and that came from their parents, and so on and so forth. So, I think that was not necessarily their fault, if you know what I'm saying.
Totally. I think though it's up to us, and I think you let me know if I'm right or wrong, but like breaking the cycle.
Yeah.
Right. It's one of my great favorite quotes I learned from a mentor in life. He said, Casey, it's okay not to know every answer. It's just not okay not to do anything about it.
Love it.
And I love that advice. And it's kind of like that came to my mind as we're talking, because it's not okay not to say I love you. That's not okay. Yeah, it's not okay to hug your kid. And hey, talk about this stuff, because if you're only talking about the freaking weather and sports with your kids, you're just asking for shenanigans to happen.
For sure, you actually have to like really connect with them. And as you well know, trying to connect with a teenager at times is really difficult. And I think my mom used to do this to me, and like I was talking about in the beginning, is when you're in the car, they can't run away from you. They're quote unquote trapped. So to try to be able to connect with them on a deeper level, that's your best opportunity as far as I'm concerned. There's less distractions.
Hey everybody, it's Casey Jacox. I want to take a quick break to talk about my friends up at Catch Sitka Seafoods, who continue to be just an amazing loyal sponsor. And for those of you who've tried it, thank you. For those of you who haven't, you're missing out. And now's the time to make sure that you visit CatchSitkaSeafoods.com and get some of those amazing smoked salmon. Get some of that amazing rockfish, blackfish, black cod, salmon, whatever it might be, whatever you like. But what's great about opportunities they have, now's the time to subscribe to a box so that you're going to get that reliable cadence of the best fish directly from the dock to the doorstep. And what's great about Catch Sitka Seafoods, they make it so easy. So those that maybe aren't the best chefs at home, doesn't matter. They're going to give you this beautiful, nice laminated recipe card that tells you exactly how long to cook it, whether you're going to barbecue, you're going to bake, you're going to fry, whatever the way you want to do it, they're going to make it easy. So please visit them today, CatchSitkaSeafoods.com. Sign up for a subscription so that you're going to get the best fish delivered directly to your door. You won't regret it. And just like my daughter Riley says, Dad, I don't even like fish. And she does now because of my friends up at Catch Sitka Seafood. So with that, let's get right back to today's episode.
Yeah. And so it's funny. My wife made fun of me and she kind of like, I wouldn't say got mad at me. She's like, what are you doing your business stuff on our kids for? Like a little sassy. This a couple years ago, I learned this thing called TED-based questions, which people who've listened to these episodes for you, this is going to be familiar, but which is a framework that's an open-ended question framework. It's called Tell Me, Explain, Describe.
Mm-hmm.
So I teach that in like my executive coaching. I work with sales leaders and companies, and it's like I'm like the TED police. Like they'll ask a W question. I'm like, a TWED? What's a TWED question? You Tweety bird? Like the W is silent. I don't know what TED. So I literally just like hound people to. And with kids, it's the perfect practice because if I say, "Hey, Ryder, how was your day?" Good. Okay. What'd you do? Nothing. Sweet. This is going well. How's math? Good.
Yeah.
All right, bud. We'll go up and play Xbox. We'll see you in 6 hours. It's
Yep,
like
exactly.
versus, hey, no, tell me 2 things about your day that made you smile, and tell me 1 thing about your day that sucked.
Yeah.
And I just need something, and then I'm going to say, tell me more about that.
Yep.
Describe why they keep going deeper.
Yeah.
Second,
That's
third,
great.
fourth.
It's funny. That reminds me when my kids were smaller, we really try, and it's gotten much harder with all the activities they have to have dinner together. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And before all this craziness started, my question to them was, what was your favorite part of your day? Right. And I've gotten, now that I hear you say that, I realize I've gotten away from doing that. So I'm going to have to bring that back.
Well, that's awesome. Well, so when the next Carney family dinner happens, great exercise that I got taught from a previous guest, Sean Thompson, give you some love, brother. It was, so everybody gets around the table and each person has to go around and will say, tell me 2 things you love about me and 2 things you love about yourself.
I love it.
And it's funny, not funny. It's interesting to see what your kids will say about you.
Yeah.
Like I didn't know what they were going to say. I was like, I like the way you make fart noises. Like, but they I still remember this. They're like, Dad, we love your positivity and that you always encourage us. I was like,
that's great.
Cool, I can get down with that. And then the coolest thing is they have to be self-confident to like talk about your strengths. We all have them. But celebrate them with and then things you appreciate about. And so they'd go around each family member. So like my son would do me, my wife, and a sister. And watching them have to say good things about their sibling, which was
tough.
Yeah. But it was super cool exercise to go through.
I love it. That's awesome.
Yeah. Okay. So tell me a little bit about how you started, what you're doing now at River's Edge and maybe some of the challenges you've had to go through over these last couple of years with COVID.
Yeah. So I am the co-founder of a financial planning and investment management firm in Delaware called River's Edge Advisors. And I've been doing this job. My second week in this business was September 11th, 2001. So that's not the best time to start. But the funny thing is that when I went to school to be a physical therapist. I thought I was going to go to physical therapy school and then I was going to work for the Eagles or the Sixers or the Phillies or whatever. And then I did an internship and I realized, oh, you just help 75-year-old people that have had double knee replacements get better. I'm like, I'm not sure that's going to be what I thought it was. So I got this job. I didn't know what a mutual fund was or a stock or how the stock market worked when I signed my contract. And I had this company teach me how to do it, which is great. Super grateful to the manager that I had there, or I would not be doing this job. But I decided to leave, and I left, and I got sued, which is super depressing. That people always say it's not business, it's personal. The hell it is.
It's always personal.
It's always personal. And that seemed very personal. I was going through a lot at the time, which we can talk about in a minute, but then went to another firm in search of a mentor, right? I wanted to find someone that was older, that had done this world, had been in this world and done this career to show me how to do it. And I met with this, I started working for this guy, and he taught me so much. And he taught me I always said to him, I was like, I want to build your business, except I want to do it by the time he did it when he was like 60. I said, I want to do it 20 years earlier than you. And then I had some suggestions for him. He's a baby boomer. I'm a Gen X. And I gave him suggestions. And he said, we're definitely not going to do that. And I said, okay, I have to leave. So I joined a couple of friends of mine that I was at the first firm. And, we've gone through a couple of different iterations of how the firm works, but I have a business partner and we have 13 employees now, and we manage about 2022, we managed about 415 million. Given the state of the stock market, that number is less now. But yeah, so we help people do financial planning. Now, I have a business owner for a reason, and he is really good at everything I hate to do. And I'm really good at everything he hates to do. So we basically are easy to say like, oh, that's me or that's you. And we're super comfortable with each other where, having a business partner is like being married. You're going to fight, you're going to have arguments, but if you're generally going in the same direction and you have the same vision, you'll figure it out. Like the semantics of how you get there, that's going to change. But, and he's been awesome for me because he's really encouraged me to stop doing stuff. No one in my life, except maybe my wife, has told me that I should say no more often than him. He's like, dude, stop doing that. Stop doing this work. It's not you. You're not good at it. You don't like it. So that's an awful combination. He's like, I'll take care of all this. So his name's Jarrett, and he's been great.
Love that. Have you read the book Essentialism?
Actually, I have it right over here on my shelf somewhere. Yes, I have. I loved it.
Yeah, it's kind of like that book reminded me of Power.
Yes. That I think that's actually been one of the huge mental shifts that I've had over the past 10 years is instead of trying to get really good at things I don't like or things that I'm not good at, I try to partner up with people that don't like to do what I can do well. And, I think that takes a little bit of, you got to take ego out of the equation. Like there's this, when you're young, you're like, I got to do all this. I'm going to do it all. And then I would sit there and he does analysis. I don't have an Excel brain. I hate Microsoft Excel. I'm a financial planner. I deal with numbers every day and I hate numbers, right? I hate the details. I love the conversations with the clients. I love finding new people to talk to. I love bringing new clients in, and he hates all that. So, being able to sort of say like, why should I spend my time trying to get really good at something I don't like to do? And instead focus on being better at the things that I do like to do and being able to like really make those shift. I think has been a huge eye-opening experience for me in my life.
That's good. That's really good stuff. I'm super curious. So tell me, have your kids heard that story?
I don't think they have actually. I think they know. No, I don't think they have. I should tell them that.
To me, that's like such a powerful, like if I'm that's a great, car ride story or like, cause I think what you're doing is you're teaching humility, teaching vulnerability to saying, hey, I don't have to be perfect at everything. And then you're celebrating a teammate's success. You're celebrating what your wife taught you. And these are like the great life lessons that, we don't sometimes that whole mindset of slowing down to go fast. Our kids, like I've had to do that in my entrepreneurial world. And like, if I fail, if I didn't get something, or if I'm getting ready to speak at a company, I will go and close my door and I'll say, hey guys, dad's going into practice. And I'll tell them on purpose, not because I don't want to be bugged, but like I tell them because I want them to see I'm putting in the work too.
Yes. I love it. That's great.
Because I could sit back and say, hey, have you shot free throws? Have you gotten putted? Have you done?
Yeah.
It's like I always say, if I'm going to be asking you to do these things, I'm going to do it myself. And if you see me not practicing, call me out.
That's such a great, and that's such a great thing to do. I think that's awesome.
So, as you think about like these last 2 years of COVID, you talked about the positivities in the beginning. Maybe as a father, talk about what was the hardest part going through what we just went through.
I remember watching my kids die inside a little bit being on Zoom. And my two sons really struggled with it at first. And it broke my heart. Mm-hmm. They would cry. Yeah. They would literally cry and say, I don't want to do this. And, it's one of those things where, well, as a super optimistic person, like you said you are as well, I really believe that we were in this for like 2 to 4 weeks, right? I would have bet thousands of dollars if you said this isn't going to be done until 2022. I'd have been like, you're out of your mind, right?
Right.
And to see them, like, it really broke them a little bit, to see them online, sitting there, just like in front of a screen with not a real life experience. It was really, really hard. And I have to tell you, my neighborhood's awesome. We have tons of families in this neighborhood. If we didn't live here, COVID would have been 100,000 times worse. Yeah. Because they, at least at the end of the day, they were allowed to go outside and social distance and still be around their friends, right? But just to see them on those screens, that was really a challenging part for it. It broke my heart. It really did. I just saw an Instagram memory or some memory on my phone pop up, and it was my son. I took a picture of him, and he was just like sitting there, just like totally downtrodden and just like going through the motions of school. And that's such a great time in your life, Right. They were in I think third, fourth, and sixth grade at the time that COVID started. And that's such an supposed to be an unbelievably fun time of your life. Now that when you look back on it, but that was hard.
I would be willing to bet that Quinn's your oldest one. Is that right?
Quinn. Yep.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Quinn. So Quinn and Riley, or my daughter Riley, is they're going to the same grade. That I didn't realize it then. I realize it now. Like that sixth grade group, I think had it the hardest because, well, I mean, everybody will say their kid, but at least my genre world of life, because they're going right into middle school. Middle schools are starting to collide. You're going to start meeting new different friends. They're not having the boyfriend girlfriend because they don't know who's cute, who's not.
Yep.
Because they got masks on.
You're so right.
And like the mental health challenges I hear about. I mean, my daughter played against basketball against some other towns. I've got to know some of those parents because you meet people and these things. And one dad told me another town, they had 5 suicide attempts this year. 8th grade. I'm like,
it's crazy. So, we're dealing with similar things here. There's families that we know that are struggling with that too. And the one of the bigger problems is that it's really difficult to find someone that can help. Right. There's all the therapists are so busy that you can't even get an appointment. And, it's been real. I think when you look back, when we go out 10, 15 years from now, we look back at that whole COVID experience, there's going to be a lot of lessons learned. And I think the one that's not getting talked about enough is, number one, overall health, right? Making sure you're overall healthy and eating well. And that really would have helped you during COVID. And number two, the absolute mental health crisis on kids. Yeah, I think it's been a really challenging time for all of them.
So dads, if you're taking notes like myself, like I am, I've seen Brian takes notes. If you're not, stop, go grab a pen. Let's take notes because that's what the goal of these episodes are. I want people to leave with actionable tasks to become better fathers or like trying new things that help. And like in the power of asking questions, the power of being curious, the TED framework that I got taught that I talked about in this episode, like if you're not spending time daily with your kids, being present, talking to them, not about what you want to talk about, but what they want to talk about, and then go deeper, like really learn more about what's going on. I'm not saying we're going to solve the mental health crisis, but I sure as hell would be willing to bet it's going to put a dent in it if we
absolutely,
just be a little bit more present. There's always one more email you can check. There's always one more phone call you can check. But like, what are we doing? What they want to do, not what we want them to do, but what they want to do.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, I'm off my soapbox.
I was right there with you.
Okay, so one question I always like to ask is, tell me how. So you and your wife met in college?
We did, yeah. So she played lacrosse, I played baseball. So I played football and baseball my freshman year. I realized I was too short and way too slow to play college football, even at the Division III level. So I quit and I just played baseball. And at her sinus, she was a year ahead of me. And the women's lacrosse team and the baseball team were really close. We had a bunch of friends in common, so we hung out all the time. That's how we were friends for a long time, and then it advanced to the next level.
Nice.
She was asking me for some advice about guys she was seeing at the time, and I totally took them both out at the knees. Well done by me.
Those guys are a-holes. They cheat on people all the time. You don't want that. That guy's got crabs.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that might be the first Krabs reference on the Quarterback Dadcast, Brian.
There we go.
Yeah.
I love it.
See,
I'm glad
that's like the filter. I should slow it down. It just came out too quick.
I'm glad to be a part of it.
Oh boy. Okay. So I like to ask dads like an area of your dad game that maybe it's not quite where you want it to be, so that other dads at home can relate. We've talked about a lot of the positive side. For me, my gap is patience. I have to be so self-aware about it, and there's times when and I can feel it flaring up. I'm like, stop. And then I've learned it, and when I'm my bad patient self, I like, okay, get yourself right. What the hell just happened? Why did you do that? And then power of apologizing, power of saying, hey, Dad was not his best. So with mine now fully aired out there to the WWW, Brian, tell me about an area of your dad game you want to work to be harder to make that ultimate quarterback your home.
And I know this is a weakness, and I've known it was a weakness of mine for years, and I am like powerless I know it, and I still am struggling with it. So my goddamn phone is a real problem, right? And it is, sometimes it's that the line now between work and home has been blurred even more since COVID, because now I'm in my basement right now at my house. I have an office now at my house. I work here at least 2 or 3 days a week. But now when I'm upstairs, I'll be answering emails or answering team messages or being on Zoom or, responding to different things. And my kids will be trying to talk to me, and I'm like, hold on a second. And then I get frustrated at them when they're interrupting me, in air quotes, from working, when they're just trying to have a conversation with me. So if I could just throw my goddamn cell phone away, some days I have the plan. I just walk in the door and I put it down. And that plan is such a great one in theory. And it's just, and there's times where I have something going on at work where I have to take care of it at 6:30, 7:30, 8 o'clock at night. And it doesn't happen often, but it does happen. But long story short, if I could use my phone a quarter of the time when I'm at my house, I think I would be so much better.
Yeah. That's a good one, man. I know that, no one's perfect with that one. You're triggering a story for me that when my son was, probably when, I don't know, 16, 17 months old, I remember I was getting to work at like 7. He'd get up at 7, so I didn't see him in the morning. And then I'd get home at like 6:45. He'd go to bed at 7. So I got 15 minutes with him. I'm like, this is horrible. Yeah. And at the time when I was in corporate, my career was taking off. I was accomplishing some things, and I was like, but I was like miserable.
Yep.
I was like, this sucks. This is not what being dad's like. Yeah. So my company's loving it, but I'm not. And so I remember going to my boss, shout out to Angela Ronica. And I said, I got to figure something out. This is not fun. I know you guys like the production, but I feel like I'm a good husband. I'm not a good dad. And she said, why don't you just change your hours? I'm like, what are you talking about? It's not a bank. She's like, why not? Leave at 4. I trust you. You're going to get it done. I'm like,
love it.
Really? And so I literally, okay. So I said, okay, I'm leaving at 4. And I said, from 4 to 5, I'm available on the way home. From 5 to 7, I literally turned my phone off.
That's so great.
And I just said, we're not, and then when I get the kids down, and then my wife and I would chit chat for a little bit. And then I turn my phone back on, or if I knew there was like a massive deal or something, work there was like the but for rule, but it taught me that, one, my phone number is not 911. I'm not that important. I think I am sometimes, but I'm not. Even I was Uncle Rika moment here in business. I was like our number one guy at this company where I left for 10 years straight. They're still doing pretty good without me.
Yeah.
Their stock's up a ton without me. I don't hear from a lot of those people anymore.
Yep.
That's okay, but we're all replaceable.
Yeah.
And
for sure.
I remember I read this book I think it's called $1 Billion Coach. And it was the business executive coach for the guys that started Google. And
oh, cool.
He would literally tell stories when these executives were calling him, he wouldn't take their call. He's like, I'm at my kid's baseball practice. Sorry, can't talk to you.
Yeah.
And
I love that.
Yeah. And so I don't know maybe if it'll work with you, Brian, but when I still struggle with that, I just pretend I'm still coaching their youth sports, because I would never take a call during an hour and a half practice.
So true.
So why do I do it now?
Yeah. you, I'll give you kind of I got smacked in the face with a 2x4 with this. So a few summers ago, we went to Maine on right by a lake, and the house we stayed in had no TV. It had no Wi-Fi and had no cell service. And it was awesome.
Love it.
It was the best. And I said to my kids, like, what'd you guys think? Even it was just a couple months after we went. I was like, what was one of your favorite vacations? And I can't remember which one it was, said to me, we loved Maine because no one was on their phones, especially you, Dad. And I was like, damn, that is a shot to the heart. But it was phenomenal. Now, I will have to say, in fairness of full disclosure, we would go on hikes and cell service would come available. And I'd be in the back of the hike, like getting my fill, like responding to emails and that sort of thing. So, but it is having those clear boundaries, they're certainly blurred nowadays.
Yeah. Well, dads, if the home, I love Brian's vulnerability and sharing that. And if, we're all in this constant, path of mastery and the only way we get better at is admitting our gaps, and we all have them. So if you're a dad at home thinking you're perfect, I got news for you. You're not. Yeah.
Feel free to call me. I can tell you about, I only had to give you one. I could get going.
Right. Okay. So as we think about all the things we've talked about, which has been awesome and a lot of the cool stuff, if you think about area, like 2 or 3 actionable tasks that dads can take from our conversation today where they can apply them to be that ultimate quarterback or leader of their home. Tell me 2 or 3 things that come to mind.
I think connection with the kids on a really individual, personal level goes a long way. I work with a guy, and he does this thing now. I haven't adopted it, but when his kids were little, now there 2 of them are in college and one of them's in like a junior or senior in high school. He used to take each of them away every year. One of them would go on a trip with just him. And I think it doesn't have to be like a trip. I haven't had a date night with my daughter in a long time, and made me realize, just thinking about coming on the show that, hey, I need to do that. So I think trying to connect on an individual level with each kid is a hugely valuable takeaway. I think that speaks more than anything else. Secondly, they're watching you.
Mm-hmm.
They're watching everything you do. Whether you know it or not, they are watching you. They know when you're busting it. They know when you're working hard. I actually have this note that I keep in my office. My daughter wrote it to me on 11/3/2020. She wrote, "Hey, Daddy, love you. You're the best dad ever. Keep working hard. Love you so much. Keep up the good work."
Love it.
And I keep it right here in my office to see. So they definitely are watching you. And, I think that I want them to understand that they alone are responsible for their outcome in life. They have complete control over that. And that's a positive and a negative. They can squander it, but I don't want them to say, well, so-and-so did this and so-and-so did that, and I didn't get this thing because of that. I'm like, nope, that's your fault.
Yep.
Everything's your fault, whether it's good or it's bad. Everything is your fault. So I think, that's the motto that I try to live by. You take ownership of your lot in life because you're the one that's responsible for it.
Love that. Connection on a personal level. Get those date nights in.
Yeah.
Kids are always watching, and then be accountable for your actions, good or bad. It's like life doesn't happen to you. Remember Tommy Lasorda?
Yeah, sure.
Tommy Lasorda, my favorite Tommy Lasorda quote, said there's 3 types of people in life: people who watch things happen, people who wonder how things happen, or people who make things happen.
I love it.
Yeah,
I love it. That's so true.
You create your own luck.
Yep. I really have a tough time, when someone, is sort of complaining like, hey, I didn't do this because of something that happened. And it's like, dude, that was your fault. Like I can't remember who said it, but it was the harder I work, the luckier I get.
Mm-hmm.
It's so true. You're totally responsible for your lot in life, and take advantage of that. It's an opportunity, not a negative.
Right. Exactly. Okay. Before we can allow people to connect with you, learn more about your podcast, learn more about River's Edge, it's now time for the lightning round.
All right, let's go.
Which I go completely random. Some CTE brain comes out from playing college quarterback. Uncle Rico moment right there. You're going to learn a lot about how just bizarre, and I got a screw loose upstairs. Your job is to answer them as quick as you can. My job is to be so random that I get a giggle out of you.
Okay, perfect. Let's do it. I'm ready.
Are you ready?
Yep.
Okay. True or false? You beat Ian in a 40-yard dash last week.
True.
Nice. What was the time?
6 something. No, it's not true. Sorry.
Love it.
I would have if we raced.
I love it. Challenge. There you go, Ian. Better get ready, bro. Stretch out those hammies. Tell me your favorite memory from playing sports in college.
I was talking trash to a catcher while I was at the plate, and we were jawing back and forth, and then I hit my one and only college home run as
That's
I was talking trash to it was like straight out of a movie. And as I furthered talking trash to him, I never talked trash. This one time I did, and I talked trash to him as I stepped on home plate after hitting a home run. This is greatest.
How was the trip back home round third?
Oh, phenomenal. I think everyone in the entire place was shocked that I hit a home run, me included. So it made it even better.
Wow. Love it. Tell me the last song listened to in your phone.
Probably something by Pearl Jam.
I was just going to say that, dude.
That's weird.
Eerie. I literally, in my mind, said Pearl Jam. That just tripped me out. That freaked me out. I had goosebumps. Yeah.
I also bought one ticket to see Pearl Jam because my wife doesn't want to go. So I'm going to go to a concert by myself, which I've never done before. Yeah. Anyway, sorry.
You going to wear spandex?
Absolutely.
Good. Yep. Borrow Ian's if you can't find your size. If there was a book written about your life, tell me the title.
Wow, this is a tough one. No, I'm not very lightning right now. I would say would have to do, let's see, what would the title be? We're not here for a long time. We're here for a good time.
There we go. I like it's like a colon or semicolon.
Yeah.
It's almost like that could be a song too.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've never asked this question. So that book now, you have 2-part question. That book is going to become a hit movie. Okay. So tell me who's going to star you.
I mean, obviously Ryan Gosling, probably.
Yeah, no brainer. Why wouldn't it's obvious? I see it. Now, that same book, that same movie, they're turning into a song. So tell me who's going to be the lead singer.
The Killers.
Oh, there we go. I saw them in concert, believe it or not.
You did. I saw them way back in the day, and for some reason, I've recently I was between Pearl Jam and the Killers. I've recently got back into even their new stuff. It's pretty good.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to see them at like a private show. We used to sponsor this conference in Vegas, and so the company we did business with, they brought them in. It was like 200 of us.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was
really
awesome.
awesome.
It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Tell me 2 words that describe your wife.
Strong and leader.
Love it. Favorite comedy movie?
Dumb and Dumber.
You're telling me there's a chance.
Yeah. Also followed by Christmas Vacation. I think Christmas Vacation should be ranked higher in the overall comedy list, not just a Christmas movie.
I could, yeah. Check or should
we could quote that for an hour. Yeah. We could do a whole hour of that.
It's good. It's good. Okay. Last question. You're going on vacation tomorrow. Tell me where you're going.
I'm actually going on vacation Wednesday to a place I don't really want to go to.
Okay.
But we're going to Disney World. If I could choose, it would be Colorado.
Okay.
During the pandemic, my family and I moved to Colorado for a month.
Wow.
Yeah. We just decided we never have this chance. Everything's canceled. We can go out there. We moved to Colorado and did awesome stuff. Went to Breckenridge, would go hiking, would paddleboard in the lakes. I would move there in 2 seconds if I could.
Wow. Okay. Last question. Favorite all-time Eagles memory?
Oh, that's an easy one. I was at the game where they beat the Vikings to go to the Super Bowl the year that they won in the NFC Championship game. And they were down 7-0 early, and there was an interception. Dude returned it for a touchdown. We literally, the crowd was, everyone was jumping. The stadium was shaking. And from that moment, we knew we were going to win. They were going to win the game. Yeah, it was, I think about that all the time.
Love it. Love it. Love it. So good. Brian, lightning round's over. You made it out unscathed. We both giggled. We learned more about you, which is awesome. If people want to learn more about you, they want to connect on LinkedIn, they want to learn more about your wealth management firm, tell me how they can find more about you and your podcast.
Yep. So the podcast is happy-half-hour.com, where I share a beer and interview an entrepreneur about their business. And then I try a beer I've never had before and rate it at the end.
That's cool.
Yeah. And then the firm's website is riversedgeadvisors.com.
Both those will be linked in the show notes. And is your podcast on all the major platforms?
Yes, it is.
Cool. I will make sure that's linked in the show notes as well. Thank you, Henna and Ian, for making this episode possible. Brian, thanks so much for sharing. I hope that you enjoyed talking about things maybe you didn't anticipate talking, but when I hear people say that, it reminds me that what I believe what I do matters. And it's so fun to connect with people and have conversations about life that we should be doing all more often than not, but we use this thing called life as an excuse. So it's fun to slow down and learn more about people. So I'm honored that you joined me today, and wish you nothing but the best. And even as a Seahawks fan, I'm wishing the Eagles good luck next season.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you having me on, Casey. It was great.
Cool, man.